Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to a new week. I hope you have a nice weekend. So in the last week, we have talked about the relational design. We have introduced the motivations as well as some basic concepts and the reasoning of the closures of both the functional dependency and the attributes for you. We also talk about how to use these closures to help us to find the keys for the relations. In this week, we plan to finish the relational design. And before that, let's look at the schedule spreadsheet for the course. So we have a deadline for the study 2 for the project in the last week. I hope everyone has submitted the report already. We know we only need one report for each team. The report should be in a PDF document to be submitted to the Canvas. And in this week, we will have another deadline, which is homework 2, and so it will be due by this Friday. And the problems covered in the homework 2 are all about the relational design as well as the relational algebra. I think you should be able to do most of the questions right now based on what we cover already. And in this week, we plan to finish the relational design, and you should be able to do this by this Friday. We have another important thing which is in the next week, because we will have a midterm in the next Monday. And we have one lecture on this Friday. We will talk about the midterm specifically. We will discuss about the formats as well as the materials to be covered in the midterm. So we have a detailed description for the midterm in this Friday. And you can check the videos on the Friday to learn more about the information for the midterm. So generally, this is the plan for the course before the midterm. We have introduced all the materials almost. We cover the ER model, relational algebra, and relational design. So far, I think everything is going very well and going smoothly as scheduled. And you can check furthermore beside, after the midterm, we will also have several other sections on SQL, indexing, and crash recovery. So far, I think everything is planned and also going smoothly as scheduled. For now, I think it's a good time for you to prepare for the midterm now. You need to go over all the materials we have covered from the introduction until to the relational design. All the materials we will introduce before the midterm will be included in the midterm. So you probably need to go over all the materials carefully right now so you can do it very good in the midterm. Okay, so this is about schedule. We have a deadline by Friday on homework 2. We'll have the midterm on the next Monday, and we'll have a discussion about midterm in this Friday lectures. Okay, so this is a plan, and let's go back to the materials we have covered. And we provide you with a review for what we have covered in the last week on the relational design. If you still remember, in the very beginning of the lectures for the relational design, we talk about the motivations, why we need to have the relational design in this section. And then we talk about several important concepts. If you still remember, we discussed about the functional dependency, the superkeys, and keys. We provide the definitions of functional dependency, superkey, and keys. I hope you can remember the definitions because it can be very important for you to do some of the questions in both homework and the midterms. And we also talk about the reasoning of the functional dependency and the keys. If you still remember, in the last week, we talked about the functional dependency, the closures, as well as the attribute closures. For the FD closure, we also discussed Armstrong's axioms, and we also derive several more complex rules we can use to compute the function-dependent closures. In the real world, we don't use this FD closure very often. Instead, we prefer to use these attribute closures, which is more powerful and more useful. With this attribute closure, we can derive or can find some more FDs, and we can also find the keys for the relations. I hope you can still remember how we compute the attribute closures with this algorithm we showed in the last lectures. Right? We have this iterative algorithm to finding all the attribute closures. And we also discussed how to use these attribute closures to compute some new FDs as well as to find the keys for the relations. So this is what we covered in the last week. And in this week, we will have several more lectures on the relational design, mainly focused on the relation refinement or pollination. We will describe the desired properties for the relational refinement, and we will also talk about several normal forms which will be required or necessary for our relation refinement, and we will discuss the trade-offs of these different normal forms. And to be specific, we will discuss the BC normal form, the third normal form, and we'll briefly mention the fourth normal form and essential. We will discuss how to put them together to design the DB schema or relations for us. So this is it for this section, as well as the planning for this week. I hope you can follow me in the lectures, because this section is very, very, very important for you and for database systems. Normally, in the near future, if you talk about database systems, and when we discuss about the theoretical knowledge about database system, people will ask you a question about the BC normal form, the third normal form, and essential. They are very important. So I hope you can follow the materials we covered in the lectures, and can also understand the examples and questions we do in the lectures. And you can also practice these kinds of problems by yourself in both the homeworks as well as the question we cover or example we cover in the textbooks. So please do spend some time on this section, because it is very important. It is also very hard as well. Okay, so this is for the review about the lecture we now will cover in the next week. And let's come back to the slides.